My Vote Rocks.
Hello and welcome to this final edition of My Vote Rocks. You will recall a couple of weeks back, we'd done a whole series of shows where we spoke to young India. We found out what they really thought about a range of issues. And we did ask them whether they were going to go out and vote or not. And that was the real intention, to try and persuade them to vote. Now, turnout numbers were great. So that's why we are back here for one last episode after the state elections to see whether everyone did actually carry out their promises and also to remind ourselves of what the young really think. So before I do anything further, all of you have got your flags in your hand, right? Green is yes, red is no. Big question. How many of you went out to vote in the state elections? How many of you went to vote? Honest answers, okay? I want to look at your fingernails. Okay. So a lot of you went and voted. Some of you didn't. Let me get senses from both of you. You voted?
Yeah, I voted.
Did you feel you made a difference?
Yeah, every vote makes a difference, and my vote will obviously make a difference.
Okay. You didn't vote, right? Yeah, why not?
Well, to be honest, I didn't go out of my way to vote because my parents had their voter ID cards in a separate state and I guess didn't take the initiative enough. But at the same time, I also was kind of disillusioned with all three parties, so I thought I wasn't clear on that count in any case.
You could have always voted for none of the above. That's another point of view. All right, the rest of you voted. You voted? And?
And I think I did make a difference.
You did make a difference?
Yeah.
Are you sure you will vote every time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's just see how all of this did impact. And I think the intention and the desire to make a change did have an impact. But before I go any further, let me quickly welcome our special guest here, Meenakshi Leakey of the BJP, which had a fantastic time in these elections, with Delhi perhaps is a bit of a question mark, but you won the three other states. Nisha Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party. So, of course, you had a spectacular debut, although we are still trying to completely figure out whether you're going to be forming the government or not, and maybe we'll know in a few months, if not in a few days. Shivam Vej also joining us right here, journalist, blogger. Thanks for being with us. And Randeep Singh Surjewala, spokesperson of the Congress Party, has joined us on many episodes of My Vote Rocks earlier. Randeep, it's absolutely fantastic to have you back again. Can I just start off by asking all of you, the desire to make a change, campaigns like this, My Vote Rocks, we did it for like lots of times, saying go out and vote. Do you think it made an impact?
I think so. I think so. And these are campaigns which should run anyways throughout, because we need, these are basic rights to make any government work. Democracy and accountability are necessary, and that can function in the best possible way as and when more and more people join in and ask for vote. Because when you, I'll say as a political party, when you have to ask for vote, you go to people, you ask them what their desires are, how they want functions to be performed of the governance, etc. So, and their participation always keeps the political parties on tenterhooks and call for accountability. I think it is very important.
Was there a lot more participation, Nisha, in your view? And do you think it was the young? Because that's, obviously there's no specific data on the youth vote, but if you talk to the Election Commission, they seem to feel a lot of young people did come out to vote.
Yeah, it's true that the participation was much higher than what it has been in the past. And I'll actually go beyond that. I think the participation was not only on election day, which is that you come out and vote, but the participation in our party at least has been much more deeper, and people got much more personally involved in politics, which also added to the whole excitement of voting for the youth.
Okay, Randeep, given what the results were, you may well have wished that some of those voters had actually stayed at home, but no, I'm kidding. At the end of the day, do you think it was good that so many people came out to vote?
Oh, absolutely. I think my compliments to the Election Commission, my compliments also to NDTV and to you for running these programs and being a part of creating that awareness. It is voting that brings accountability. It is voting that brings transparency. It is voting that brings a sense of responsibility, not only amongst the political parties, but also amongst those who are participating. After all, politics affects everyday life. Why should the young be not part of that politics, reshape it, rewrite it, and force political parties and all players to rethink in the way that we are going to govern the country? So participation is always welcome, and I'm extremely enthused by the mandate. I just want to also remind you, you forgot
Sorry,
Mizoram.
did you just say that you were enthused by the mandate? Other than Mizoram, which other state were you enthused by?
I'm enthused by the turnout and the
turnout, fine.
participation of voters. You lose some elections, yes. Yes, we lost 4 states. But the truth is that the democracy won. We will work harder. We will again go back to people and win their hearts.
I just want to actually share with all of you what happened in these elections, because as much as the results, whatever they were, I think it was really great to see the number of people going out to vote. That's where the real change is going to come. So let's just look at all the states and see what the turnout figures were. So let's start with Madhu Pradesh. It was overall 69.3% in 2008, went to 72.7% in 2013, 72.7%, up 3.4%, and especially among women, going from 66 about to 70, which was a great thing. Delhi, I have to say, you guys can all clap for yourselves here in Delhi, and for the other states also, because Delhi saw a massive jump from 57.6 to 65.7. That's 8% up, the turnout in Delhi. That's really great. Almost as great as Rajasthan. And look at the Rajasthan numbers, 66.3% to 75.2%. That's up 8.9. Women in Rajasthan from 65 to 75. That's a 10% jump in turnout figures. Those are really, really good numbers and really should hearten a lot of people. Moving to Chhattisgarh again, up 6.8 from 70, which is already a high number, to 77.3. And women going, also up very, very sharply. So up about 7% nearly in Chhattisgarh. The only state where turnout fell a little bit was Mizoram, where it went from 82.2 to 81.3. But hey, 81% is a really high number in any case. So Mizoram has always done a fantastic job of turning out to vote, and this year was no different. Mizoram turnout 81.3%. In fact, in absolute numbers, Mizoram was the best of all the states. 81% was the highest turnout that we saw. Shivam, what are we seeing out here?
Well,
is
Vikram,
this, first of all, was it a one-off, or do you think this is the way it's going to be?
No, I'm sorry, completely disagree with you and everybody here who thinks something special has happened in this election, because we've seen a number of state elections in the last few years where voter turnouts have been increasing, even in UP and everywhere. And obviously, India is a young country, so these numbers will come from the youth. But the real clapping that needs to be done here is for the Election Commission, which has gone out of its way in making sure that every person is able to vote. From going to colleges and targeting 17-year-olds and telling them, hey, this is how you can register next year, to going to homeless people under the flyover and saying, hey, can we help you register and vote even though you do not have an address? So the real clapping here needs to be done for the Election Commission, and there's no special youth factor as it were.
I agree with you. Can you all clap for the Election Commission? Because, and I'll tell you why I agree with you. There are two aspects to this, and I'm going to actually ask people out here. There are two reasons why turnouts have continued to rise. Number one, as you're rightly saying, the Election Commission has also made a major impact, major effort to try and reach out to people and register them. And secondly, I think the trust in the voting system. Indian elections are arguably the most efficient in the world, and that's saying something.
Absolutely.
In 2014, we're going to have 700 million votes, I beg your pardon, that will be counted within 4 hours. There's no country in the world which can do it.
Absolutely.
And given how disorganized most things in India are, I think the Election Commission needs another round of applause just for that. So, can I, in fact, I want to ask some of you guys, and then I'm going to come to the rest of you. Does that make a difference to you? The fact that you are reasonably sure that when you are voting, it's a really efficient, transparent system. Your vote will be counted. There won't be any vote capturing. There'll be no hera-fairy in this process. How many of you think that makes a difference to you?
I voted for a candidate and he won. So absolutely, I have confidence in election commission.
But, I hate to break this to you. He didn't only win because of you, because there was no margin. There was only one. Although it can happen. Poor Shazia, who was here in My Vote Rocks. I mean, she lost by some 330 seats. She must be wishing she'd come for more My Vote Rocks and got a few more youth votes out here. Okay, can I ask you, Meenakshi, then I'm going to go to Randeep. The system itself, do you think it's now been tightened to such an extent that political parties, by and large, don't complain? I remember elections, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where every single election, booths after booths were being countermanded, votes were happening again. It's become so much cleaner and so much more efficient.
I agree. I agree with both you and Shivam on most of the things, except as a person who watches elections very closely and part of the electioneering process, I feel there are certain glitches for whatever reason, and that part also needs to be tightened. And there are certain issues. For example, people migrate within the city, Delhi being one, where there is a lot of migration within the city due to rental accommodation, etc. About 10% of those people couldn't vote because their residential addresses have changed. So 10 to 15% is a big number. That needs to be corrected. Many a times people were trying online, they were not getting registered. The online systems were down. So I'm not taking the credit away. I'm saying it is.
So you're saying it's not a perfect system,
and just needs a little tightening up. That's it. I mean, it's very much in order. It's correct. It's absolutely fantastic, and yet we can always improve where we are, and that's only what I have to say.
Make it even better is what Meenakshi is saying. Randeep, your take on the credibility of the election system by now?
Vikram, I think our election system is amongst the most credible. Institutional safeguards are in place. I particularly welcome what the EC has now started doing from this election, and that is the distribution of voter slip, which they did in Delhi this time, to every household, taking that task away from individual candidates or political parties. It really helps in making people participate. Having said that, the intra-city, interstate, intrastate migration will continue to be an issue unless and until we link Aadhaar card and voter card in a conjunctive manner. That is something that EC needs to look at and maybe bring in the necessary institutional safeguards. I agree with Meenakshi ji to that extent. But the process is completely commendable otherwise.
You see, my reservation is only on Aadhaar because for two reasons. One, Aadhaar being, in fact, there is a contempt probably, it's already filed or is likely to be filed because Aadhaar has been, the mandate of Aadhaar has been struck down by the Supreme Court. And yet on various schemes you are insisting on Aadhaar. The data of Aadhaar is with a private firm. And it cannot be because it's, I'm just, you know, imagining that Aadhaar in the hands of a US-based private firm, you can alter the election results whichever way you want. And I think under those circumstances, if Aadhaar was with the Election Commission or Ministry of Home Affairs or some such body, my fate would be different. But my data, my biometrics cannot be with a foreign agency. I'm sorry, I wouldn't agree with that.
All right, can I just move on to Nisha? I want to come with you on one other thing. In particular, the success of the
one line, if I can add, these are small niceties.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, you want to finish what you were responding to what Meenakshi said?
These are not niceties.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that perhaps it's time to give Aadhaar a statutory framework, and I'm sure the apprehension that Meenakshi ji expressed can be taken care of, but Aadhaar can be an empowering tool for millions and millions of Indians, actually.
Okay. Can I just move on to a couple of other questions that we did ask earlier, and I want to come back to it, especially in light of what happened with the Aam Aadmi Party. We'd asked people in the Hansa Urban Youth Poll whether they thought that politics was attractive as a career, whether they would consider politics as a career. Now, interestingly, the numbers that we got out were as follows. 54% had said yes, 41% had said no, 5% were undecided. And when we asked people why they would not join politics, here was the answer that they gave. Too much corruption was quoted by 49%. Political system faulty was quoted by 17%. No interest in politics was quoted by 14%. So interesting numbers. Now, as we were just discussing, political system faulty, I'm not quite sure whether that's a very fair comment to make when it comes to at least the electoral system, how votes are being counted. No interest in politics, fine, you're excused for that. Too much corruption. Now, what happened with the Aam Aadmi Party? Does it in a sense redefine these two questions that we'd asked before the results came out? Because frankly, there were a lot of people who did believe that the Aam Aadmi Party would get votes, 15%, 20% votes, how many seats that the party would get was a big question mark. And I know lots of people, including, by the way, within the Aam Aadmi Party, who said, 2-4 seats mil jayenge, acha hoga, it's the voting percentage that really counts. So everyone was taken by surprise.
You know, the youth has been the backbone of Aam Aadmi Party. And yes, it is true that politics was always considered a dirty word. It still is probably in other parts of the country. And it was for dishonest people. It was for those people who couldn't really do anything better in life.
Don't make sweeping generalizations. It's not only for dishonest people so far. But
it was considered.
We'll discuss dishonesty of Aam Aadmi Party.
It's a perception, I think, that you
No, but perception can't be made in this fashion. And I'll discuss I'll also discuss the Aam Aadmi Party dishonesty.
Sure. So that I think changed in this election, and I just said that with Aam Aadmi Party, the youth saw an opportunity to actually make a difference by entering into in the political scene or the scene of the democracy, and that's the change that the party has been able to bring about.
Can I just come to all of you, and I'm going to ask you this question, that a couple of the other related questions that we did ask people. Should more youth be involved in politics? And the Urban Hansa Youth Poll said 79% of the youth said that yes, more youth should be involved. Then when we asked them that what is it that is really required in Indian politics, is honesty necessary or not needed? 50% said honesty is necessary, 42% said it's not needed. So, those were interesting results. Can I ask all of you, would you be tempted to consider a career in politics now? Or at least get involved in politics? How many of you would be? Okay, lots of undecided. Some red flags on that table, green flags out here. Why don't I start with some of the red flags first? Why would you not consider working in politics?
It's a big no-no, sir.
Why?
Too much corruption is there. So I'm good where am I right now?
So you'll vote, but you won't actually join politics?
No, never.
Despite what the Aam Aadmi Party says it's done?
The answer is still a big question mark.
Okay, the answer is still a big question mark. Okay, somebody with a different point of view? Yeah.
I think that we as Indians, and specifically being part of this youth brigade, we need to stop putting the blame game on, and if we want to clean the politics, if we want to get a good system for our country, then perhaps we should enter the system and then clean it off. Why to ride on the success of others, and why to wait others to make your decisions? If you want something to be done, you should get it done yourself.
I agree with
Okay. How many people agree with what he said? There are lots of people who are still looking undecided. Some people, all the people here seem to agree. What? You agree with what he said?
Yes, sir, I completely agree with him, because we have to enter if we want to change something. If we have to clean our home, we cannot just sit and think, my mother come and will clean the room. We have to do that by ourselves only.
Fantastic.
Okay. I want to ask the question, Isha, which I'm sure many people have. Actually, let me see how many of you feel that way. Given what the results in Delhi were, how many of you are disappointed that the Aam Aadmi Party is not forming the government? How many are disappointed? Okay. Isha, what's happening on this entire issue? Yeah. Seeing as theoretically you do have the numbers right now, the Congress is giving you unconditional support. Actually, you seem to have more conditions right now than the people who are trying to give you support. Because you said
it's strange, isn't it? It's never
we will accept your unconditional support provided you meet our conditions first, and there are 20 of them. And so I've actually never had a result. I've never seen a situation like what's happening in Delhi right now, where you could form the government and you don't want to.
Unsolicited support is being given, yeah.
Unsolicited. But okay, theoretically you can form the government. So do you think it's not? You think some of your people will feel let down that you're not forming the government even though you could?
No, but that's not what is coming out when we're talking to people, and we've just launched a helpline where people can call up and say whether they want us to form the government or not.
This is really taking democracy to fantastic extents.
It is, and that's what we are, we are trying to do. We are going to make all major decisions with the public and get the pulse of the public.
Okay, so out of curiosity, supposing the Aam Aadmi Party was to form the government at the centre in 2014, every time a cabinet decision needs to be taken, you will do a mass SMS and phone poll.
Well, maybe, because
should we take action against the American embassy? Can we all vote on SMS on this or not?
Americans, they will not. Americans, they will never question even.
Yeah, but I'm just asking, is this policy going to be taken to its logical conclusion?
Well, it needs to be taken definitely for this decision, and that's why we're going ahead with that. And it'll depend on, how complicated the decision is or how important it is to get a referendum.
So you're doing a referendum on this, right?
Well, sort of, yes.
Let me help you out with this. Everyone keep your flags. I want everyone here to vote. Given the situation right now, Should the Aam Aadmi Party form the government in Delhi now? Quick vote. Snap poll. Okay, you got about 75% saying yes out here. So there you are. Shivam,
just as it would be ridiculous for the Congress and BJP to make a government together because they're ideologically completely opposed to each other, and the Aam Aadmi Party has come to this situation by opposing and by sort of propagating a certain ideology of good governance, of clean governance, of anti-corruption. And personally, I would be very disappointed if the Aam Aadmi Party was to form a government and seem like just like BJP or Congress, that is to show that it is more eager to come to power than to actually be true to what it stands for.